and welcome to My Tiny Bottles, the project where I explore my grandmother's legacy of miniature liquor bottles, one tiny bottle at a time. I'm your host, Tammy Coxon. Bottle number 13 is this half-empty plastic bottle of Mr. Boston Peppermint Schnapps. Now, given that both Mr. Boston and Peppermint Schnapps don't exactly have a great reputation, this is not something I'm really excited to taste. But it is pretty interesting from a cocktail and liquor history perspective. The Mr. Boston name has been a big part of the US drinking scene since just after Prohibition, when H.C. Berkowitz and Irwin Benjamin bought a distillery in Boston and started making Old Mr. Boston dry gin. From there, they quickly expanded to create a bunch of other products, including a lot of sweet liqueurs. But the thing that made Old Mr. Boston into a household name was not a bottle, but a book. In 1935, the company published the first Old Mr. Boston Deluxe Official Bartender's Guide. The foreword of the book described the problem. Prohibition had wiped out the bartending profession in the US, and while cocktail books were now flooding the market, most of them weren't very good. The Old Mr. Boston Company set out to remedy this issue by recruiting 4 old-time Boston bartenders whose background and experience make them authorities on the correct ingredients to be used and the proper manner of serving cocktails. And while all this was true, it was also a clever marketing move that the book called for Mr. Boston products by name. The products and the Bartender's Guide have continued to this day. After World War II, the company had a period of rapid expansion. Then in 1969, Glenmore Distilling in Kentucky purchased the company, books and brands and all. I touched on this a little in my video about Hot Shot Tropical Fruit Schnapps, which was also produced by Glenmore, and thus, shockingly, included in the 1988 Mr. Boston Guide. In terms of dating this bottle, it probably comes from around the same time as the Hot Shot, which was the mid to late 80s. In 1975, Glenmore dropped the old part of the name and gave Mr. Boston a more modern look, so it's definitely after that. And it's in a plastic bottle, which puts it after 1981. Plus, I found an ad from 1986 promoting a different schnapps flavor, but it has a very similar label style. The brand bounces around after that. It was bought by United Distillers in 91, then sold to Barton Brands in 95, finally Sazerac in 2009. Sazerac continued to publish the print edition of the book up until 2012. Then, in 2016, they created MrBostonDrinks.com, which includes not only drinks from the final edition, but also a lot of the older ones, so you can really see how the recipes change over time. One of the main differences is that even though Mr. Boston spirits and liqueurs are still in production, the most recent recipes no longer mandate that you use them. That's it for Tiny Bottle 13. Be sure to check out next week's video where I'll be sitting down with Fred Yarm, a Boston bartender and creator of the Cocktail Virgin Slut blog, to taste this bottle and talk about Mr. Boston, Boston, Peppermint Schnapps, and more. Do you have a Mr. Boston story to share? I'd love to hear it. Leave a comment below. If you're not a subscriber yet, hit that button. And don't forget to visit mytinybottles.com for more. Cheers!